Okay, so this is a bit of a tutorial on the use of the RPX Insight Pocket Reader. Okay, so the main parts on this are the connectors. So this is to connect to your loggers. Okay, they're just little push points with a wire is put through. On the back we have the batteries, so it's 3 AAA batteries, or AA batteries, sorry. And then we have a series of 3 buttons on the front. The first one here in the middle having the power on it. So we'll push onto the power button, the screen starts to come up. Then when we're here, we have, obviously we've got indications of the battery and then also the cloud status of the machine. And then this little icon in the middle tells us what the bottom below will do. In this case, that's the menu. So we'll press onto the menu. The first thing we want to do is we want to hook up some Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi allows the data to go from the reader up onto the cloud and therefore sit within the web app so that you're able to access the data without the Wi-Fi. We're not going to be able to do that. So let's get that done. I'm going to scan for our Wi-Fi. I'm going to connect to the first one on this list. And then it's just simply a case of emptying, entering the password, and then we'll go down to the bottom. Oops, and connect. Connecting. Successful. Okay, so now we're connected. The next thing that we're going to want to do is that if we are on site, we may want to, noticing here that my cloud is now connected and then my Wi-Fi is now connected. So another step that we need to undertake is loading the reader onto the web app. So we've gone to this website here, insight.rpxtech.com/login. We can create an account here. Most people are familiar with creating accounts, so I'm not going to go through there. I'm just going to load into the current account that we've got. So we're logged in. Okay, so what's important here is that we have a bit of a hierarchy. So we have projects, and then within projects, we have what's called a POR. Okay, so this is the project, and then inside here, we have the POR. Okay, so just for now, we're going to create a new project. We're going to call this one test. We'll just put it in this bridge. We'll put in, I'm currently in Perth, so I'm going to go Perth. Reporting radio, let's not worry about that too much. We're going to go Celsius. We're just using this for time for temperatures, but we'll put in time temperature and put in MPA. We can put in the address. I'm just putting in our current address for our office here in Perth, and then I'm going to press create. So it's just warning me here that I can't change those settings, which makes sense. Now I've created a project called test. When I go into test, I don't have any PORs. Okay, so obviously you'd think, well, I'm going to go and create a POR. So a POR would be, anywhere where I have a collection of loggers that are running at essentially the same time. But the first thing I actually want to do is go into devices, and I need to load the devices that I'm going to be using. In this case, I'm using a mini reader, so I'm going to need to go to add device. It's going to want the ID. So on the back of each of these, that you'll find an ID. So I'm just typing that straight in, EC 6B 9B D2D, and we'll call this test again, and we'll add it. Now, if you had multiple readers, you might give the readers different names. However, this is fine for us at the moment. The signal quality is not on there, but we have the battery and we have the fact that it was loaded. So we've added our device. Now, what's important to understand here is that if the device is not added to the project, then when we connect our reader to the internet, it's going to be sending the data either to a random project as to which one it was connected to prior to that, or to nowhere. So this is probably the one of the most important things that we need to do. And we're going to need, every time we create a new project, we're going to have to shift to the reader, or if we had other equipment available for that other port, other project, then that's what we're going to need to do. But as long as we stick within this project, we'll be fine. So next we're going to go pause. So I'm going to go create pour. It's going to be asking me for the name of pour. This is optional, dependent on whether we're using this as a temperature logger or we're using this for maturity. We're just going to use this one just as a temperature. We're not going to load a calibration, but that's what the calibration is asking for there. We've created our test. We then go into our pour called test, and from here we can add a logger. Okay, so each logger has its own serial number. You'll note that you can scan that. So if I was on a mobile phone, I could also use that, but I'm going to put in a logger 8. That. So I'm just going to add in the logger to the pour. This will mean that the logger information goes straight to the pour, obviously using the reader that's attached to the project. So we've now got that flow of information from the reader into the machine. So we will add. Logger is added. Everything is nice. We come back into here. We now have our one logger. Okay. We don't have any information about the logger because the logger is not started. It's still just waiting. Okay, so we now have the Wi-Fi connected. We've gone through loading the reader into a project. We've added the logger to the project. Now let's start looking at the logger. So the number that I put in as the number there, okay. Note there's some metal prongs here on the base. Now these, when they come in contact with water, will automatically start the logger. However, the preference as always is to do this manually. So let's do this manually. We're going to start the logger. And from there on, it'll start recording and sending data off onto the internet. So we've connected. It then goes to a download screen. It's connected to that logger. And any minute now, it should request to start the logger. Here we go. Okay, so it says 24 degrees. It's then got a play button and a menu button. If we go into the menu from here, these are all of the same options that we had before. So order, timer, status, setup, datum, which we're not going to use because we're not using anything to do with the maturity. So then the other option is to start the logger. So we'll press start, press OK. It'll just chat to the logger. Now, it will know every time it connects to this logger, it will only download one file, and so your data is always going to be safe and it's always going to be connected to that one logger. But now we've started, it's got its datum, which we checked. It's measuring every 1 minute, and then it's giving us an idea of the temperature. And then from there, we can see that it's 24 degrees. Okay, so pretty much everything is ready to go and it is now started. Okay, we can now disconnect from our logger. Okay, the logger is inside the concrete and locking, and we are now disconnected and ready to connect back to the logger. Okay, so our logger has now been running for a period of time now. Let's download the data off of it. Okay, so we're ready to go. We have our Wi-Fi connection, so our data should go immediately up. We're going to connect here and connect here. It's going to come up with download on the screen, so just automatically grabbing that data, appending it to that specific serial number, and then once that's done, we'll just, okay, We're now looking at this, just watching as it syncs. Should just take a little minute. Okay, all done. So we can then go back to collecting other data loggers, go back to the office, whatever we want to. And because we've got a little arrow, we've got a little tick in our cloud just here, we know that our data is up on the internet, but let's go and take a look, shall we? We've downloaded the data onto the reader. Let's go and take a look. So our project name was test and our pool name was test, and we have our logger here, and hey presto, about a minute ago when we connected it up, we've now downloaded our data for the time from 11:03 up until 11:15, and we have the temperature going from 24 degrees up to 20 degrees. From here, we could have had more than one logger, obviously in here. We can just add another logger. And then once we have those loggers loaded, we then have the ability to turn them off and on. I'll go through this in a bit more detail in another video that we've got, but the max temperature differential will be indicated by whichever ones we've got ticked just there. From here, we can also set up alerts. So an alert will allow us to do such things as alert for a high temperature, low temperature differential, strength scheduled. Okay, so scheduling could be quite advantageous on a project for all loggers or for selected loggers, and we can tell it to essentially send that as a notification or as an email to ourselves or CSV. So automatically, if I'm a manager, I can get the data from from here. Should I not want to do that and I just want to manually download, I also have these two download buttons just here that I can use to download the information. From here, the only other thing that I'll point out is that if we hadn't added the logger to the POR, then we would go back out to the project and we would generally have something here called unassigned loggers. And from here, we would be able to add it to the POR. But the only reason I got here to test in the first place was because the reader was connected, or the pocket reader was connected to there. Okay, so that pretty much shows you the simplest way of getting the information from your logger getting started all the way through to being online and accessible for your management. Thank you very much.